The spirit of our people has often been bolstered, even in times of strife, by artistic expression. The arts remind us of the unshakable human spirit and our capacity to find beauty and meaning even amid chaos and destruction. During the 1960s and 70s, artistic music was used to both protest the Vietnam War and to advocate for peace. Dozens of songs were either written about or associated with the war. Many of these songs shared similar themes and played an important role in understanding the war and the sacrifices of those who served. Peter, Paul and Mary, Pete Seeger, Simon and Garfunkel, and many other artists offered a musical reflection of the feeling of the people, literally folk music. On a smaller scale, the same is now true for the Israeli-Hamas war. Perhaps you, like my family, set an extra place setting at your Seder table for the captives. The current hostage crisis is modern-day proof of the cyclical nature of our people's captivity and need for freedom. The Haggadah tells us that God not only liberates slaves from Egypt, but also for us. That is why the Haggadah similarly states that in every generation, we are required to see ourselves as if we personally went out from Egypt. This year, it is not a difficult circumstance to imagine. The need for songs of liturgy, for prayers and rituals is never more evident than during times of conflict and mourning. These spiritual expressions help us to find solace and give us the strength to persevere. In the face of adversity, the Jewish people have consistently turned to our faith, and that faith has sustained us through countless trials. This is reflected in the Achenu prayer. This prayer first appeared in a high holiday book called Machzor Vitri in the 11th century. Seder Rav Amran Gaon was penned by one of the students of the medieval French biblical commentator Rashi. Achenu is a request to God to have mercy on captives and facilitate their redemption and release. It is similar to the prayer that we recite around the Seder table to liberate captives. Achenu has become an anthemic prayer for freedom. It has been recorded by the Maccabees and performed at the March for Israel in Washington. Ben Shapiro sang the song during his syndicated radio show, and countless cantors and musical figures have shared their version of this beautiful and soulful prayer. Recently, it was performed in Carnegie Hall by Hazamir, a national Jewish youth choir. The text reads, "As for our brothers and sisters, the whole house of Israel who are in captivity, whether they abide on the sea or on dry land, may their omnipresent have compassion for them and bring them forth from trouble to enlargement, from darkness to light, and from subjection to redemption now."
Kol
המקום ירחם עליהם ויוציאם צרה לרעה ומאפל לאורה ומשיבול לגאולה השתה הגלה ובזמן קריב המקום ירחם עליהם ויוציאם צרה לרעה ומאפל לאורה ומשיבול לגאולה השתה הגלה ובזמן קריב. המקום ירחם עליכם ויוציאם צרה לרעה ומאפל לאורה ומשיבול לגאולה השתה הגלה בזמן קריב. אחינו כל בני ישראל, While some Jewish artists and authors are striving to amplify their voice right now, others are finding themselves canceled. In February, a theater in London canceled British author and journalist Douglas Murray's pro-Israel fundraiser after employees received email threats. And in November, a Los Angeles screening of the short film Bearing Witness by Israeli actress Gal Gadot, who will be here shortly, was met with social media calls for the event cancellation. And there was violence outside of that venue. Jewish reggae and hip-hop artist Matisyahu has made headlines after several performances were canceled in the last few months. One in Tucson and another in Santa Fe. In both instances, the venue cited safety concerns and staff shortages, pulling the plug on these events just hours before they were to begin. Matisyahu posted on social media. He said, "The staff of these venues refuse to come to work because they are either anti-Semitic or have confused their empathy for the Palestinian people with hatred for someone like me who holds empathy both for Israelis and Palestinians." Matisyahu also shared that his team offered to supplement the staff shortage on his dime, but to no avail. In a follow-up statement, he referenced another venue being vandalized in an attempt to force a cancellation. These were Matisyahu's thoughts as he tried to wrap his head around the blatant anti-Semitism affecting the artistic world. He said, "It's truly a sad day when dialogue with those you disagree with is abandoned for hate-mongering and silencing artistic expression. Friends, aside from the obvious disturbing anti-Semitism, the other issue of note is that most of Matisyahu's shows are sold out. That means that a vocal minority has overtaken the will of a greater majority. Is that really the democracy we live in? The Hashkivenu prayer is part of a group of readings that ask God to guide and shelter us during the night, and praises God for delivering us, watching over us, and being merciful. While some prayers touch on lofty themes that can feel somewhat removed from our daily lives, this particular prayer feels much more accessible as it allows us to address our shared vulnerabilities. We ask God to fulfill what seems to be such a simple request, to safeguard us while we sleep, enabling us to rest peacefully, to wake up in the morning safely. This prayer has resonated with me during the holiday of Passover. It reads, "Grant, O God, that we may lay down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace." We mash this prayerful melody with Matisyahu's fervent song on the same theme called One Day. Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, been praying for. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when we feed on the souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched pavement, keep on moving though the waters stay raging. And in this maze you can lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it faze you, no way, no way. Someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say, we don't wanna fight no more, there'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, oh, one day, one day, one day. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Together, one day, one day. Hashkivenu can be traced as far back as the Middle Ages. And as you might know, many of our prayers are thousands of years old. But with the establishment of the State of Israel, we found a liturgical opportunity to create new prayers, perhaps none more important than the prayer for the welfare of the soldiers of the Israeli Defense Force. This prayer was established by the first chief military rabbi, Aluf Shlomo Goren, in the early days of 1948. It has been recited by many diaspora synagogues after the Torah reading every Shabbat. And during the second Intifada, the official wording of the prayer was amended to be more inclusive to, quote, the men and women of the Israeli Defense Force. Seems like an obvious amendment to us in the Jewish liberal world, but at the time a rather dramatic leap forward for egalitarianism in Orthodoxy. I had the privilege of singing this prayer at a fundraiser in Greenwich, Connecticut for the Friends of the IDF. The event was a sensational success with over 900 people pledging an astonishing $3 million in just over 20 minutes. So we leave you with this anthemic prayer that asks God to protect and empower our soldiers. It reads, "He who blessed our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless the fighters of the Israel Defense Force who stand over our land in the cities of our God, from the border of Lebanon to the desert of Egypt, unto the land in the air and on the sea. May the Holy One, blessed is he, preserve and rescue our fighters from every trouble and distress, and from every plague and illness. And may God send blessings and success in every endeavor, and let us say, Amen."
שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, ויברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, ויברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, ויברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, העומדים על משמר ארצנו והרי אלוהינו, מהלבנון והמדבר מצרים, מן הים הגדול לבוא לערבה, היבשה באוויר ובים, הוא יברך חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל,
Rabbi Jonathan Sacks taught, Judaism is a religion of words, and yet, whenever the language of Judaism aspires to the spiritual, it modulates into song, as if the words themselves seek escape from the gravitational pull of finite meanings. Music speaks to something deeper than the mind. If we are to make Torah new in every generation, we have to find ways of singing its song a new way. Our prayers are with all canceled Jewish artists and authors, and certainly with the hostages and their families, and the brave men and women of the IDF who are our modern-day Moses and Miriam. Shabbat Shalom.